Hello peeps, how's it going? This is the Hillbilly Harford with you again today. And today we're talking about Welsh school learning of English. I saw this last week in an interview, and it's not a bad bit of journalism, but there's one big thing they're missing. They're missing the elephant in the room. And we'll talk about this. It's a little video I'll show of some pretty good journalism, but missing the main thing, I think. So thank you for everybody watching, subscribing. So let's get going. The content in this video is intended for comedic purposes only. The views expressed in this video are not to be taken as factual information or a representation of my personal beliefs. I'm critically reviewing the info and videos I show as examples. So peeps, if you're watching this, please click the subscribe button and the like and the share, because I've noticed some weird stuff going on since the other day. As usual, when I uploaded that video sending you over to Dale's channel the other day, basically everything dropped off. People are getting unsubscribed and all sorts. So please click the like button and subscribe, much appreciated. Now what this is, it's about an interview done on the news. I just happened to watch the other day about how Wales is the lowest in the league table for reading, and children going to secondary school, a lot of them, 20% of them, can't actually read. It's astounding. So we'll play this interview, and I'll stop it a couple of times because we'll talk about it. And you know what YouTube's like if I let the video go on for too long. So, okay. So this is the video.
Disturbing claims tonight that the use of outdated teaching methods is being linked to a crisis of illiteracy among young children in Wales. Growing numbers of children are arriving at secondary school barely able to read. Now, for decades, reading levels in Wales have been far lower than the rest of the UK and indeed the international average. But in the most recent international reading tests taken 2 years ago, Welsh children plummeted to their worst ever score. The school's watchdog previously warned that a fifth of Welsh children are leaving primary school functionally illiterate. Well, now ITV News has discovered that many Welsh schools are encouraged to use teaching methods that some claim are not just outdated, but actually damaging. Our Wales reporter Rhys Williams investigates.
Or even the pockets.
Every night, Poppy tries desperately to catch up. When she first fell behind, her mum Lisa wasn't too worried. She was told to just keep reading at home and it would click eventually. But it didn't. Now 11, Poppy has started secondary school with the reading age of a 4-year-old.
Danger. In her head, she's not that big kid that can read and write independently. She spent a lot of the summer sort of, when are we going to school? What will we be doing? How will I know where I'm going? How do I know what I'm doing? Because obviously she's got a timetable, but she can't read the timetable.
Poppy is one of tens of thousands across Wales leaving primary school unable to read. She's the victim of the fact that methods of teaching reading...
Right, stop this now. We'll talk about this a second. Not blaming the lady who's teaching her kid at all or anything, but where's the big elephant in the room here, COVID. 2 years of kids not being able to go to school. This is what the big elephant in the room is. They're obviously not allowed to mention it on here. Kids at home basically being left without being taught to read and write. That's what's been happening. Nobody is allowed to mention what's actually causing this problem. Now, I'll mention it. You all know it's right. I know it's right. They were sent homework, but they were just doing it on a screen and they weren't really doing it. Some of them were, and they got on well, but a lot weren't. That's what the problem is. Then also, this was a very well done showing about the way of teaching. You'll see now in a minute. It's obviously the problem. That's why Wales is so low and has been for the last 2 decades, it said. The lowest for 2 decades. So it's obviously a problem, but to my mind, COVID is the one that has caused this, to be fair. Let's hear some more.
that have been proven not to work are still being taught in schools all over the country, with young kids being told to use pictures to guess difficult words rather than concentrating on sounding them out.
We are going to start by reviewing a previous sound. Shh, 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 die out.
In Merthyr Tydfil, this nursery class is learning sounds and blending them together to make complete words. This is known as phonics.
Harper, can you say the sound?
Decades ago, reading scientists
I've got to just butt in here again. There's a teacher teaching kids English, telling them how to say shh in English and then answering them in Welsh. What the cluck is going on? How can you teach little infants like this in two languages at the same time? That is mental, in my opinion. Just take one language at a time. So teaching shh and then saying down in Welsh. No wonder they're getting mixed up.
discovered this was the most effective way of teaching very young children how to read. It's particularly effective for disadvantaged pupils.
Swing.
The head here tells me they've all but eliminated the gap between the poorest pupils and their peers.
Systematic synthetic phonics will change the lives of our children because they're going to leave here with such a key literacy skill unlocked for them that, whatever their aspirations are for life, reading isn't going to be the thing that holds them back, and we're really proud of that here.
But this school is one of a tiny minority in Wales who teach this way. Most use another approach alongside phonics, with kids encouraged to also use pictures and context when they get stuck. The problem is, decades ago scientists concluded this teaching method was not only ineffective, but damaging. It confuses young children, making it more difficult for them to learn to read. It even has the effect of cancelling out the benefits of phonics. We've analysed dozens and dozens of these primary school inspection reports and found that not only are these flawed methods still in use in Wales, they're commonplace. In more than 100 of these recent reports, schools are actually being praised for using these outdated techniques by inspectors.
It's a retrograde step, and that's really concerning.
We shared our findings with one of the UK's leading experts on reading development.
I don't really know what to say, because that is not something that I would expect to read about teaching in a school in the 21st century, because we've just moved light years away from that. It is a very worrying statement, because I presume schools will read that and think that that is what they should be doing.
Since abolishing queuing, reading levels in England and around the world have risen considerably. According to reading experts, the situation in Wales is down to the government and not the fault of teachers who don't know their methods are wrong. This primary school teacher fears children from poorer backgrounds and those with learning difficulties are being particularly let down.
So they go up into secondary school unable to access their school curriculum because they can't read the words which are being put in front of them in the curriculum materials. We are currently just completely failing and letting our children down.
We asked multiple times to speak to the Cabinet Secretary for Education, but she refused. We also sent a list of questions to her department. These were not answered. Instead, they sent a statement saying they do not advocate one specific method to teach reading, and that the systematic and consistent teaching of phonics must be a key part of the toolkit in schools.
Well, there we are. What can you say? It's the same old thing in Wales. We've got this communist lot in charge. Nobody is ever to blame. Nobody gets the sack. The real cause of the problem is never talked about. And personally, what I think is happening in schools, Convid was a big thing regarding this, in my opinion, because they had 2 years of nobody really teaching them at home. There are lots of people who are good parents, of course, were, but remember, there's a percentage of people who aren't. Now, that was what I think has happened now at the moment. But personally, I think what's going on in the whole of Wales is when you go to school, they're not sticking to what is really needed with a child: reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're trying to push in too much stuff regarding all this woke business. The kids can't keep up with all this nonsense, all this blooming gender recognition, all this, they're supposed racist kids. That is the problem. They've been pushed too much nonsense, and not enough of the basic stuff. Personally, I think schooling needs to go back to square one where it used to be. And when you're in primary school, teach you these basic things: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, I'm not going to pretend I was a brilliant scholar in school, because I wasn't. I was pretty good at English eventually, but when I was in primary school, I wasn't. And I went to the TUP class when I was younger. They call it in Wales, and I was there for a month, and that helped me out a lot. And then I started to read well then, and from then on I got really into books. And in secondary school I didn't really learn bugger all, but I kept reading and I learnt myself. Now that is the key, I think, reading books. And especially with my political views I have, they're quite original, because one of the books that changed my life was reading The Animal Farm by George Orwell. And I would say to anybody who's got children, or when they get to a certain age, give them that book to read, because these other ones are harder to get to grips with. But once they get into their teens, that thing told me and taught me more about politics than anything. Basically, that the two sides pretending to be good are bad, and the only people that get hurt are the people in the middle. So I was pretty disgusted that they never mentioned what the actual problem with this is. Obviously COVID, but that is the thing we should mention no more. Obviously, you're not allowed to mention it. And our Welsh Senedd is a shambles. Absolute shambles. Full of people who are underqualified protesters, in my opinion. You used to have the time where you had MPs who used to work for a living. You don't get that anymore, because they're all soft, weak people with chips on their shoulders about some political fad or other. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. All the best. Gas.